the
Good morning, everybody. We'll make a start. If you can please take your seats.
Yeah.
Very good morning and a very warm welcome. Welcome to our guests. We look forward to our council meeting today. We've got a big agenda, council and workshop. So we're looking forward to it. Now it's my pleasure to invite Cody Dennison from the New Life Church to open our meeting. Welcome, Cody.
Good morning, everybody. Love to have a break. Close your eyes. Father, thank you this morning that you are here, Lord, and I just thank you for the opportunity to be here with the newly elected members, Lord, those who are familiar faces. Yeah, Michael Ford, Lord, I just thank you that it's you who appointed these councillors, Lord, these members around the table, and I thank you that your favour is upon them. Lord, I ask that your hand would be upon them this morning and over this term, Lord, that your blessing would come, Lord, that you would bring unity, Lord God, around this table. Lord, I thank you that there's a common purpose to serve the Manawatū and the fielding area, and I pray that in that unity, Lord, that they would find common ground, Lord, though they may disagree on certain issues or topics. Lord, I just ask that unity would be the unifier, Lord, and I ask that your presence would just be so evident here today, Lord, that you would be glorified in the decisions made, and that the people of fielding and the wider Manawatū, Lord, would be blessed, Lord God, by again the decisions made here. And just ask that you would seal this morning in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Cody. And wise words, unity. Cody, anything of particular interest in your church community that you'd like to share with us, or what might be coming up? It's coming up to Christmas.
Yep. A couple of things. I'll go personal first. My father, I've mentioned this before, but really elected members won't know that my father, Vaughan Dennison, has been re-elected in the past to North City Council, so 25 years still going strong. In the life of our church, New Life, we've had 13 babies born this year in our congregation, so that's one way to get this church growing, including one of our own. So we've just had our second child, a daughter, in the last 7 weeks. So
congratulations.
Thank you. And enjoying the reminder of sleep deprivation. But all going well in church. And then we are currently planning for our end of year Christmas carol service and fielding at the Civic Centre, which is run by the Fielding Christian Leaders Network on the 21st of December. So plans are all going well for that. So if you're around, we'd love to see you there in the room to sing along with some carols. Great time together.
Thank you very much, Cody, and thank you for coming along today. Alison, you're only sort of an infant, really, aren't you?
Yeah. Paul and I often talk about that. He's one term ahead of me. And the same as Lou, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a meeting, it must be two days ago with and always enjoys it. So congratulations to him. So thank you very much, Cody, for opening our meeting. We're all here apart from Councillor Pryor, who has a pre-approved leave of absence. We don't need to do minutes. Does anyone have a declaration of interest in terms of what we're going to be discussing this morning? Deputy Mayor Hadfield.
Probably not so much in council, but definitely in the shop around fielding overdrone.
Thank you.
Got one in workshop as well.
Bigfoot.
Sorry, I've got one in workshop as well on Root Street.
Thank you.
Workshop's not a decision-making anything, but actually have chat after council.
Yeah.
Just need to let my colleagues know.
Thank you. No public forum, but we do have some presentations, and we're going to start with a representative fund presentation from our New Zealand Pony Club Mounted Games International Exchange Team, United Kingdom Exchange. Esther Hyland is going to talk to us. So welcome, Esther. Come up to the table. There's a microphone there. And yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit about it. Oh, that looks impressive.
Hi, I'm Esther Hyland. I was lucky enough to be selected for New Zealand 25 Mounted Games Exchange.
Sorry, we do need the microphone, please. We can't hear. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Esther Hyland. I was lucky enough to be selected for New Zealand 25 Mounted Games Exchange UK to compete against Australia, USA, Great Britain and Canada. Here is a slideshow of my time. So day one, travelled to Rugby Village, went to the beach and had a look around Ruined Abbey, and did some shopping. Day 2 and 3, we went to the horse races and tried the mechanic horse. That's it. Day 4, we went a walk through Fountain Abbey and had a look around York Town. Day 5, we did high ropes and met some ponies. We rode the quiz. Day 6, we travelled to Wales and stayed in the hostel 5 nights and did some quick sightseeing on our way. We went to the trampoline park and did some bowling, and we went for a walk around Chester Walls. Day 8, we played around with some polo ponies, tried them. Day 9, we spent the whole day at the theme parks. Did some shopping around Chester City. We spent most of the day travelling, playing frisbee golf and hanging out at the pool. Spent the day looking around a historical castle. And then we got to go to the competition grounds. We spent the first day looking around, getting a feel of the different equipment and gear. And then there was competition day, placing 3rd out of the 5 teams. And then we had a gala night to finish the night. Yeah. Overall, it was a really great opportunity. I gained a lot of new friends and experiences and confidence to travel. I'm really grateful to Manawatū District Council for providing this grant for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Looks like an exciting trip. I once went to a trip to Hawera when I was your age, and another one to Dannyburg. So I think you beat me. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about the competition. How you did 3rd out of 5? Yep. That's fantastic. So who were the teams?
Canada, USA, Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand.
So there are no tough teams then? They sound like they're all tough teams, so well done. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more?
About the ponies, so you were on loan ponies?
We got given loan ponies. So every 3 races, we switched to a different pony. So we all got a chance. Some of them were difficult, some of them were pretty easy. But yeah,
One nearly got you off, didn't it?
yeah,
Up in Bronco, that one.
yeah.
But just the level over there is just incredible in the amount of games seen. You know, like their riders at age 10 are riding probably what some of our under 18 riders are riding. It's just such a big thing over there. And it's just such a great opportunity to travel. Like a couple of the Brits are coming over to ride at our New Zealand Horse of the Year. A couple of Australians are. So just the friendships that they make throughout the sport is just incredible. Esther went down to the South Island to trial for the New Zealand under 18s. Unfortunately, she didn't make the team, but some of those South Island girls are really strong. And that would have been a trip to France for Worlds next year. She's going to trial next week for Nations, which is another New Zealand team, and they will be competing in Florida in the US. So yeah, it's just a really cool opportunity to travel and meet new people and gain some really cool skills. Yeah.
Oh, sounds like an amazing opportunity. Any quick questions from councillors? Councillor Short.
Thank you. Gosh, what an opportunity. So did every country have to have a lone horse, like even the ones from the UK, so that it was even?
Yeah.
Because I've heard others come and talk to us before about the experience of being on a lone horse. In fact, we had one a few years ago who got a gold medal in the youth Olympics, Emily Fraser, on a lone horse in Beijing. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And what sort of events were they? Like, what were the things you were in?
So it was mountain games.
So you explain about the bending.
So there's like different games. Do like bending through poles. The sock and bucket. So you can ride up to a bucket, put a sock in the bucket, jump off down the other end, pick up a sock, and you race home to change it over.
You bolt on, she bolts back
Bolt
on. Yeah, so it is pretty high speed, coming in, putting cups on the poles as you go past, switching them. Normally you're at full speed canter doing that and just bang, bang, putting them on. So a lot of agility, a lot of falling off. In this sport, you pretty much have to just get up and chase your pony and grab it, whereas a lot of other sports you come off, especially at show jumping, you're straight to the medic. Unless you've deemed to hit your head, yeah, you get up and you just go and chase your pony down and carry on. So yeah, no, it's definitely suits Esther's personality. High speed.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much. It's really interesting. I think probably most of us have learned a bit. So yeah, and you want to carry on with this? Yep. And obviously you're trialling for more teams, etc., more opportunities. Well, we wish you every success, and we're happy to have contributed in a small way to your trip. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. We've now got Benji Beech. Benji, welcome. Just arrived. So Benji has been representing under 16 basketball nationals. So welcome, and we look forward to hearing a little bit about your story.
Slideshow.
Fantastic.
It's the wrong slideshow. So I don't know the slideshow.
We're just trying to put on an extra handicap for Benji.
Just read it out to you. Yeah.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
This year I was selected to play in the under 16 pre basketball team down in Wellington for nationals. Yeah.
Very cool.
In January, Basketball Manawatū held their trials for the 2025 season. Over 100 boys my age showed up to trial, and you only had two sessions to showcase what you had and why you should be in the team. I was selected for the Premier team, which is the top team at that level. Qualifiers. We started our journey by heading to a qualifiers in Napier, which we came top 3 to make it to nationals. We made it all the way to semis, but unfortunately we lost our game to Hawke's Bay. We won our playoff game against Wanganui to place 3rd and qualify and head off to Nats. Down in Wellington, me and some of the boys went to the city to see shops we don't normally have here. We were able to go see Foot Locker, Nike, Taco Bell, and much more. But we also had the opportunity to go see the Parliament building, the Beehive. It was pretty cool. You got to see some people as well. It was good fun. At Nationals, we had a great team of outstanding players who all contributed in their own way to help us make our way to 7th place. Reps is a great opportunity to work with coaches you might not get to work with, and had this season I got to work with Rob Hartley. Rob has coached at different levels throughout Wellington and Hawke's Bay. He has assisted at the NBL, NZNBL level, and brings a different perspective than any coach I've had to work with before. The top 26 teams in the country went head to head. Our team played our hearts out, but unfortunately we only managed to come 7th place. This might not seem like a high placing, but it is a big improvement from last year who placed 14th. And I think for a small region, it was an honourable placing, and we managed to beat Alba, Waikato, Tauranga, and Canterbury. Waikato ended up placing 3rd, which is the team we beat, so that's pretty cool. Just want to say thank you to you guys for giving me this opportunity. I like basketball. I want to keep doing basketball, and I think it's just great. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Benji. What's next? In terms of your basketball career, what are you going to trial for, or what are you?
I've been selected to go play an exposure tour in Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll be off there January 20th next year. And then for school, I'm going to go play a basketball tournament in America. And then hopefully after, I'm going to go try and get on scholarship to an American high school or college to go play over there.
Wow.
Hopefully come back play NBL.
I wish you every success, and what an amazing opportunity if that comes off for you. Yeah. I'll just open up to councillors. Any questions you'd like to ask? No, I think we've. I completely agree. It was a very creditable finish. Did you say 26 teams?
Yes, 26.
And you got 7. That's great. So obviously you're a very talented player. Wish you all the best. And yep, it was a pleasure to help in a small way.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. And Keeton. So Keeton Smith, going to talk about the 2025 Asia Pacific Canoe Polo Championships.
Morning, my name is Keeton Smith, and I was selected to represent the Manawatū in Ningbo, China, September. This is how. So canoe polo is a team sport that combines water polo, basketball, and kayaking, amongst many other sports. It's played by 2 teams of 5. So, and then 2 teams of 5 on each side, and they play head to head like any other ball sport. You've got the option of having up to 3 reserve players on the baseline. And the aim of the game is like any other ball game, you try and get ball into the other team's net. It's a fast-paced game that requires ball handling, kayaking, balance, and lots of others. So the equipment, so you've got your kayak, which helps you float on the water. You've got your paddle, your spray deck, which keeps as much water out as possible in the boat. Your helmet, your PFD, and a port. My achievements. So I've played canoe polo for the past 5 years, for both Manawatū Kiwi Canoe Polo and for Feilding High School. I've coached the Feilding High School team for the past 2 years now. Over those 5 years, I've received 4 gold, 3 silver, 1 bronze, 3 most valuable player awards, and 1 best and fairest amongst trophies and pins for Feilding High School. In KCP, so Manawatū Kiwi Canoe Polo, have been involved in the Agents Fit Canoe Polo Championship for 3 years now. The trialling is done over the National League season. So when we're playing for Kiwi Canoe Polo up in Hawke's Bay, Christchurch, here, we're constantly being watched to see how we play and how we handle situations. And then the training sessions were held at the Hockfitted Lagoon over the winter months. Real cold and blue finger kind of. On the left is the photo of our 2 teams, so the female team and the male team at the Continental Airport. And then we flew up to Auckland and then had a 12-hour flight to Shanghai. And on the photo on the right is all of us in our tour t-shirts, same kind of t-shirt I'm wearing today. And that is Shanghai. So the photo in the middle, it's kind of small, sorry, is the hotel we stayed at. And the one on the right is the view out of our hotel room. The other 3 photos are the Yuyang markets. We went there during the day. First day, just to have a look around and experience the culture. Shanghai Tower. So the middle photo, it's the one in white. And the one on the left is the view from the very top. You see all of the Shanghai from the top of the tower. It's pretty cool experience from up there. And then we went to Disneyland. So that was on the second day in Shanghai. Bit of fun there. Pretty cool. And then we went to Ningbo. So that was a 3.5, 4-hour bus trip from Shanghai. The one on the right, top right, is the hotel we stayed at. And the other 3 photos are the night markets we went to. So we went to different night markets pretty much every night. Just to eat different food and experience different activities. And then we went to Dongfang Lake, China. Tournament was over the 27th and 28th of September. And it was held at that facility. So we had the building at the top connected onto the 2 courts. That was all fully air conditioned. So we stayed in there during the day when it got to the 35-degree plus temperatures with high humidity. And then the water, what we're used to playing at the lagoon is real cold. That there is real hot water. So hopping in the water wasn't really any chill or anything like that. It was well, we want to cool down, we can't really. The participating countries, so we had New Zealand, so 2 teams in New Zealand, we Singapore, Malaysia, Russia, China, Shanghai, and Taiwan, Taipei. This is the boys team. So that's the boats and the players. And our coach is on the far right. Some photos that were taken. The one on the left is I threw the ball and I snapped that guy's paddle. So that ball's rebounded off the paddle and broke his paddle. Here's some more photos. One on the top left is taken by a drone of the facility from across the other side. So it's held in a lake. Big lake over there. And here's the team. So on the left is boys team. On the right is the boys and girls team. And bottom right, so we got the option to switch out t-shirts or rash tops. So I switched out with a Malaysian player. And the timetable for Saturday. So the red dots are the games we played on Saturday. And on the right are the wins or the losses. The W in brackets is a women's team that we played. So 2 women's team that we played. We didn't have a timetable for Sunday, sorry. But that's the results there. We came fifth out of 9 teams, male teams. Yeah, thanks for your support and funding to help me go to China.
Thank you, Keeton. What an amazing trip. Just looking at the picture there of Shanghai, I went there in 1982 and it looked like a 1920s city. None of those buildings existed. So had my memory, one of my last memory of Shanghai was we left in a boat and there's a dead body floating down the river and no one cared. That was quite a poignant moment. But anyway, congratulations on your achievements, all your medals and your accomplishment. But I see that you're also putting back into the sport with your coaching. So good on you. What's next for you?
So I was going to continue with canoe polo for next year, but I'm waiting to hear back from the Defence Force. And if I get into the Defence Force, then that's 6 months of next year taken up.
Yes.
And club polo is in the first 6 months of next year. So I won't be able to play for next year. But if I do get in the Air Force, I plan to play in 2027. Get back into it whilst working for the Defence Force. So right. And then continue on from there.
Well done. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Shaw.
I really like the colour of the water. What was the colours?
Better than the lagoon.
Yeah. I suppose as you build the community.
Like it was okay water. Obviously, it can always be clear, but it's a lake. Look, we didn't expect it to be crystal clear. I reckon it would have been nicer if it was colder water. It's just the temperature of the water was like it was a bit hotter than lukewarm. So it wasn't the nicest playing, especially when you're out there, 35-degree heat, you kind of want to hop in the water to cool off. And we didn't really cool off in the water.
The other one was, did you take your own canoes? I remember one team in the past had real logistical issues and their canoes, they sent them a week before they left and their canoes arrived like a week after them.
We ended up hiring boats over there. So that facility we stayed at, the guy who owns it, or he share owns it with another polo player. He's got this big boat storage underneath. So we managed to find boats that we fit and we played in boats over the 5 days. So 2 tournament days and 3 training days. And then, yeah. So we didn't take boats over. So you probably talking about the Australia tournament that happened there at the start of the year?
It was the one, it was China. It was Kai Alcock's team, wasn't it?
Because the Australian team, or the New Zealand team that went to Australia at the start of the year, they took boats over and they only arrived the day before the tournament. So we didn't want to go through all that hustle, so we ended up just hiring a boat, which worked out pretty good, especially when we got the correct boats that fit us. And that saved us an extra couple grand to take our boats over there, which is what it would take.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Keeton, for telling us about your trip. Fantastic trip, fantastic opportunity, and congratulations on your achievements. Yeah, thanks very much. Right, move on to item 7, notifications of late items. Aware of any? And no recommendations from committees. So I'll go straight to officer reports. And I believe we're starting with resident satisfaction survey and the benchmark report. So do we have our... Who's going to present that?
No.
Janet, welcome. Come and join us. Right. So Francis says an apology, she's unwell. I'll welcome Gina and Lisa. Right, we're in your hands.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is our resident satisfaction survey and report and our benchmarking report. I will take the report as read. These surveys are carried out on a quarterly basis by an external company called Key Research. They're conducted Key Research have 20 other councils that also use them for these types of surveys as well. They are an independent survey that we get insights and feedback from, and this is the yearly summary and also this benchmarking report, which helps us compare our numbers to other councils. So I think the key takeaways for me are the fact that we have seen an increase in our overall satisfaction rate compared to last year, which is really good. Our three largest increases in specific questions were around our services. So it was the community hub library, the Makino pool and public toilet facilities. The Makino hub libraries was pretty much down to the fact that we've got a beautiful new facility and people are really enjoying that. So that satisfaction rate really shot up this time around. We were the highest satisfaction rate across the benchmarking for 8 subjects. And then we sat within 5% of that top score for another 15 other subjects. And we sat under the benchmark for 11 subjects. We actually do not sit as the lowest score for any of the things. So that's really good. The reports will now go onto the website. There'll be a bit of a news story about them. The comms will lovingly do. And then because they sit alongside the annual report, they're mentioned in that so that they are available to the public for viewing.
Thanks, Gina. It's certainly comprehensive, aren't they?
They are indeed, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Right, open it up for questions. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks so much for the presentation. Just on page 54, I noticed there's a significant decrease in satisfaction in outdoor spaces. And it appears as though this is driven largely by the decrease in cemetery maintenance across most communities. Why do you think there's such a big drop, and what can be done to reverse this trend?
It's a good question. Some of the comments were around rabbits, I believe. So there were some pest issues that the cemeteries and the parks team are very much aware of. So there is plans in place to help mitigate that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Short.
Yeah, just an overall comment. Congratulations to all the team for getting very high scores, but actually for the elected members, perhaps it's us that need to look at what was said about trust and financial leadership, etc. So we've got some work to do.
Right, anyone else? Councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. A couple of things. If you're just wondering in all of this, just looking at the summary of key performance indicators, and I'm thinking, do we ever ask people whether they've voted or not in an election? Because with all the information that we collect, I actually think it's, my view, it's actually quite useful information to try and garnish. Anyhow, just a thought. Looking at the expression on some of my colleagues' faces, I'm not so sure. Not quite sure whether that's bemusement or what it is. But one that's probably a little bit specific to today, just bear with me. And this is, Jerry will be listening to this, Jerry Sherman, that is. I'm aware that Council is working with and funding external agencies to develop, improve and promote the local economy. and I noticed there's a 4% drop on that. Might be one for you to perhaps to you, Jerry, later on, rather than directly to you guys. But that was one that I was specifically interested in. And the other thing, of course, for those of the population that identify as 65 and older, they're clearly the most content in our community by looking at the statistics. So for you youngsters, feel free to identify as over 65 at any time you like. But other than that, I think it's actually quite comprehensive and it makes very good reading. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. If we look to page 6, there is a recommendation. Would someone like to move a motion?
Happy to when I get to page 6, Your Worship. Yep.
Deputy Mayor Hadfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that the Council receives the Resident Survey Final Yearly Report, 2024-25 Appendix 1, and the Resident Survey Benchmark Report, 24-25 Appendix 2, prepared by Key Research, and that Council approve the uploading of these documents to the Council website.
Thank you. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Hill, open it for discussion. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much, Gina and Lisa. Now we move to 9.2 and we skip right through to page 131, which is the adoption of meeting schedule for 2026. 131.
Thank you, that's me.
Right, Beech.
So this is just adopting the meetings for the next year. So your report would obviously already adopted the ones for the remainder of this year. Next year's schedule includes the new committees that we've established. So I'll just run through them quickly. Finance and performance is quarterly, so that mirrors what we did with audit and risk in the last triennium, March, June, September, December. And the work plan will be finalised early next year and obviously will align with those quarterly meetings. District planning, I would say tentatively put in for bi-monthly. That's subject to change depending on how it goes. That might turn out to be appropriate. If it's too often or too infrequent, then we can always change it. These definitely aren't set in stone. The Chief Executive's Employment Committee is on an as-needed basis, but generally it's a couple times a year. So there will be the mid-year performance review process and then the end-year performance review process, and that's when the committee will meet.
If I may, Your Worship.
Deputy Hadfield.
Yes, thanks, Ash. Francis and I have had a preliminary discussion and we're working through that. So we'll be able to load something into that relatively soon, I would think.
Thank you. The Water Services Delivery Unit Committee is to be determined. So we will come back to you with those dates at a later stage. District Licensing Committee, there is a 3-weekly meeting. It's pretty low key. Sometimes that will be cancelled or deferred. It depends how many applications are received, and the Commissioner also has the ability to process applications outside of the meeting schedule. So that one often does change.
Excuse me, Ash, and it's often a Zoom meeting. It is often, the district licensing is very often a Zoom meeting, not an in-person.
We have an extra council meeting for the 28th of October. So you'll recall on the 30th of October, we brought you the annual report from the last financial year. That meeting on the 28th of October next year is for the same purpose. It will be to adopt this current year's annual report. And then this financial year, we may not need it, but the next financial year, we will often end up adding meetings for the long-term plan to allow for all of the consultations and the people coming to speak to us. If we end up consulting on an annual plan, then we can also add in extra meetings. There is also the provision to add in extraordinary meetings or emergency council meetings as needed. But obviously, you'll find out about those if we need to use them. For example, during the COVID years, there were additional meetings being added. So none of this is set in stone, but it's just to give you as much notice as possible. obviously we've put them all on a Wednesday where we can because that's council day. We really try not to put them on other days unless it's absolutely necessary. And happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Short.
Thanks, Ash. I noticed that there's nothing on there yet for Youth Council. Has it been decided what's happening with Youth Council going forward?
I'll defer that to Lynn.
Thank you. Sorry, I hope everybody can hear me okay. We will be bringing a paper to council either before Christmas or the first council meeting after that. Back. Putting options to council.
But it is continuing.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions of Ash? Right, we go back to page 131. There is a recommendation. Would someone like to move? I'll move that the council adopts the schedule of 2026 meetings as set out in attachment 1 of this report without amendment. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bell. Any discussion? Motion, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? Carried. Thank you, Ash. We then go to 9.3, page 136, leaves of absence, delegation to mayor. And who's going to introduce this one?
That will be
you again.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thanks so much. This one's very brief. So this process by default sits with the council to approve leaves of absence, and as we've discussed with you previously, it's an alternative approach where the mayor, or in the mayor's absence, the deputy mayor can approve leaves of absence and then let you know offline. And the reason to use that process is just for privacy. So putting your upcoming leaves in a public setting. That's pretty much all there is to it. So under this process, if adopted, if you need to take a leave of absence, you just email the Special Mayor. He will reply approving or not approving that leave request, and once approved, he will let all of the other elected members know by email as well. And then we'll make sure that on the day when you're away, it's reflected in the agenda that you're on.
Right, so I'll start with an apology because I have approved a couple and I haven't made everyone aware of that. So I'll follow the process. I'll try and follow the process. Councillor Hadfield.
Given that, Your Worship, I'd just like to go straight to the recommendation so that you can actually approve leaves of absence. So I'm actually happy to move that the council delegates to the mayor the authority to grant leaves of absence to elected members under clause 13.3 of the Manawatū District Council standing orders, and notes that the mayor will advise all members when a leave of absence has been granted, and that the meeting minutes will record the absence as a pre-approved apology.
Thank you. We have a second, Councillor Short. Discussion? Motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? Motion is carried. Thank you. Ash was right, it was short. So timing wise, we were looking at 9:30 for CEDA. Is CEDA ready and available to proceed?
Yeah.
It's great then. So we'll go to 9.4, the CEDA annual report 2024-25. Welcome to Bobby and Jerry. Oh, we've got some more CEDA coming. It's fantastic. So Lynn, I'll just ask you to introduce.
Thank you, Worship and councillors. So we're here with the team from CEDA, and we'll get them to introduce themselves shortly. And because we've got Bobby here as the chair and also Jerry and his leadership team, so they'd like to introduce themselves to you. So Marie has arranged for CEDA to first do a little bit of an intro into who CEDA is and what an economic development agency does. And I think we've got a presentation on that. And then that'll be followed by the team then going through their annual report. Something along that line. Anyway, so yeah, that's the main thing. So as you know, Marie completes the administration for the CCO side of things, and both Shane, myself, and Michael are on the lead team for CEDA. That's the main information that I wanted to impart. So I'm Jerry now to do the introduction, or Bobby to do the introductions.
So we all have the who is CEDA and of course the annual report. So looking forward to hearing from you, Bobby, Jerry and team. Bobby.
Can you hear me all right?
We do want the microphone, please.
Get on that.
Green, that's on. Should I? Yeah. Should I?
The first test for CEDA.
Paper.
Is this one? Yep.
Do you see two presentations?
One.
Okay.
Oh, God. Give her another one. You just got the one? Yeah, just that one. We'll just run with it.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, me Michael, and elected members. It's great to be here to present to you today on our annual report for the 24-25 year as we continue to work for the region another year into our delivery. For those of you who don't know me, I'm called Bobby O'Fee, Tupainga, and I am the chairperson of the CEDA board. I'm joined today by Jerry Sherman, our CEDA CEO, and Jackie Middleton, Finance and Operations Manager. To those re-elected members and also to the 7 newly elected members, congratulations to you all, and we look forward to our continued partnership. It is my pleasure to be here, and on behalf of CEDA board, I'd like to thank you for your ongoing support, collaboration and commitment to growing Manawatū. Firstly, with our newer elected members in mind, we want to take this opportunity to give an overview of CEDA's work on behalf of our 2 shareholder councils. So I'll hand over to Jerry to go through this with you.
Tēnā koutou katoa, Mayor Ford and elected members. It's really great to be here. Fantastic you've been able to give us an extra 10 or 15 minutes just to talk through a 101 around economic development. Before I get started, just want to introduce the rest of our team. Over to my right, we've got Janet Reynolds, the Marketing Comms Manager, Greg Bignell, the Business Development Manager, and Tony Nass, the Māori Relationship Manager. Just my intention here is to go through the slides until it stops and then find out whether we've got a second presentation, because it was my understanding they're all in one. So look, this is the second presentation.
Yeah. Marie, are you just finding the other one that Jackie sent through? Thank you. Perhaps it might be just while I was doing the annual report.
Okay, let's go to the annual report. Okay, I'm just going to hand back to Robbie to introduce the annual report.
Welcome back, Bobby.
Jerry. And on behalf of the board, we are now happy to present to you CEDA's annual report for the 24-25 year. Palmerston North and Manawatū at a glance. These are some of the key economic indicators for our region for the 24-25 year, as highlighted in the annual report. Unlike many regions in New Zealand, we are relatively sheltered from the economic shocks thanks to our diversity of sectors. However, that doesn't mean we're completely unscathed, and the past 2 years have certainly shown that. In the year to June, our GDP dropped slightly by 0.8%, which is in line with the national decline. Our visitor spending rose, however, by 2.6% against the national rise of 1.2%.
and our total earnings, salaries, wages, and self-employment income rose 5.5% year on year. It is time like this, when we see the dips, that we need to remain focused on the long-term opportunity and projects to future-proof our region. However, we're seeing some positive signs of growth in businesses, and business sentiment is cautiously optimistic as we look to the year ahead. Some of our stronger indicators include a 44.4% rise in non-residential or commercial building consents compared with a national decline of 0.09%. And finally, reflecting on the strong economic trajectory we experienced in recent years, our 5-year GDP was up 11.1%, which is on par with national increase of 11.2%. Another good indicator we're back on track, future bright. Now going to hand back to Jerry and carry on from there.
Thanks, Bobby. Look, as you know, CEDA's work is broad and varied, and I'm happy to report that we've been able to deliver 100% of our statement of intent performance outcomes for the 2024-25 year. I think this is the third year in a row that we've been able to report that to the Manawatū District Council. I'll talk a little bit about our 3 pillar strategies and projects in a moment, but first I wanted to highlight a few of our key outcomes for the region for the past year. We've engaged with 650 businesses over that year, and our Net Promoter Score for our Regional Business Partnership Program, which supports small businesses, has hit a +75, which is up from a +67 in the prior year. And I think this demonstrates we're delivering meaningful and valuable business support. Our tourism trade work scaled up significantly, including our regional debut at the largest trade travel show in New Zealand, Trends, which was our first outing there. We took 12 commissionable tourism offerings to that and were exposed to over 60 travel buyers. We produced 49 media features that were secured through our extensive regional and national partnerships, which each featured changing our showcasing our region to the businesses, to investors, to new talent, and to potential visitors. Our key project updates. So for the new elected members, we have 3 key projects that we work with that underpin our work. They are living strategies. They outline our key areas and opportunities and the challenges for our region, which helps us to guide and focus what we do each year. And as we work through that, we hope to retain our agility to move with things as they move around. So Te Tanganui is our first one, the Central New Zealand Distribution Hub, which includes Kawakawa Road, Turners Road Precinct. Alongside the growing interest from central government and commercial sectors, we have a really strong opportunity to take Te Tanganui to both the national and international audiences. A refreshed strategy was also delivered with a strong endorsement from partners in the lower and central North Island. That's indeed now a central North Island, lower North Island key project. A regional food strategy, as part of our land diversification initiative, we've advanced the in-depth reporting and have launched our interactive crop sustainability map, which we developed with NBC, supporting landowners and farmers considering diversification of their land. In parallel to that, phase 2 of the Sustainable is Attainable program has progressed, focusing on practical solutions for food processing waste and byproducts in collaboration with business, universities, and research and development partners. The third key piece of work is our destination management plan. And following our trade readiness program, we established the Visitor Sector Collective and launched a new trade hub for inbound agents. Our local advocacy campaign was a success, and with the Garden Festivals project completed and our cluster development project moving ahead, we saw 40% of the attendees from out of the region for that event in its second year. Inward investment. We often get a lot of inquiries around our inward investment activities. So I wanted to take the opportunity to give you a quick recap on where that sits. Inward investment is not linear or uniform, and no 2 inward investment opportunities are the same. Not fast. Some of these projects will span anywhere from 5 years to 30 years. No 2 projects ever look or feel the same. Now, advocacy aligns with CEDA's pillar projects, ensuring focus on priorities while staying agile to seize new opportunities. Our work in the space includes a number of things, including positioning the region as a compelling business destination nationally and globally, delivering target investment pitches, supporting our activities through prospectuses, media, PR, and keeping the region top of mind nationally and internationally, connecting local opportunities with investors, developers and partners, matching regional needs and suitable capital, and expertise, and work closely with those people that are influencing at central and local government level. Leading and supporting our projects to secure government funding on behalf of the region, and we currently have a live regional infrastructure fund application, which we should hear about in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Collaborating with shareholder councils to ensure investors have a clear pathway and the right information as they progress their projects. Underpinning this, we have a robust triage process in place to carefully consider every investment opportunity and engagement that we have to ensure that we're focused on the right things and that we don't park at every passing car. CEDA is actively curating and progressing a diverse portfolio of investment opportunities that reflects the region's growth potential. We operate as part of a wider national regional ecosystem. Depending on the project, our role can shift between the lead, the facilitator, the connector, or the advocate. Ultimately, we exist to ensure our region is investment ready, visible, and positioned to capture these transformative opportunities. I also want you to know that as CEO, I run an open door policy and I'm always available to catch up should you wish to get more detail in the space. And I know that Bobby's reached out to elected members to catch up at any time, so we're always open for a chat. Just want to hand over finally to Jackie, who's going to take us through our financial performance.
Kia ora koutou. CEDA's financial positions for the year end saw a modest surplus of $118,000 against a budgeted deficit of 11. Major variances mostly in relation to additional government funding received for the Hyland Korero project and the Regional Beech Promotion Fund. Additional funds also received to support our Wake What local advocacy campaign. Other variances were in relation to additional spend in regional marketing and investment, with some savings in our talent and business development spend. We also had savings in our office-related costs after the move to our new office and recruitment with no staff changes over here. Just to note that there's no tax payable on the surplus due to previous losses carried forward from previous years. So yeah, that's our year-end summary. And so we're going to take questions after the presentation once we get that sent through. So we've got the team here if they need to help answer the questions.
Right, so maybe we'll stop for questions now. Would that be appropriate? Yep. Right, we'll open questions around the report. Jerry, you mentioned that Kawakawa Road, Turners Road, is part of the Te Tanganui, the distribution hub. Could you just elaborate a little bit, because that might be a surprise to some people?
No, absolutely. It's a cornerstone actually in our collateral and the strategy and everything we do and say. It's a key part for us and very, very key in that sort of wheat production space. And there are, some very, very key businesses that have set up in the Kawakawa Turners Road precinct in the last 2 to 5 years. So we work really, really closely with Ross. We've got Hamish on the Te Tanganui stand-up meeting every morning at 8 on a Friday. We had to bring forward half an hour so we can make it in. So you're really connected into that conversation. And look, there's some very interesting central government discussions going on at the moment around particularly advancing the rail hub a bit quicker than we thought, which will trigger a whole lot of things. And I think it will bring benefits to the Kawakawa Turners Road precinct very, very quickly, much quicker than we thought.
Thank you, Jerry. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks so much for the presentation. It's on page 143 in the outline and mitigation part. I just noticed that what are some of the, in the climate and sustainability challenges part, what are some of the main climate adaptation initiatives being employed, considered or planned? Is this around stormwater and drinking water, things like that? Thank you.
It's a great question. It's quite broad actually. And I'll just give you an example of one of the ones that relates to the key project Te Tanganui. We're in discussions with a group out of Australia called Energy Estate, and they are a hyperscale data centre group. And they've come in and they're looking at how can they do sustainable green energy around the region, put a hyperscale data centre, probably at Bunnythorpe for the proximity to the substation. But they've just challenged us and said, why don't we work with our 2 shareholder councils, and this will be used to everybody because we're only talking about this month, but to turn the precinct into a sustainability hub. And so that, you know, could we encourage new developments to have solar on roof? You know, all those sorts of things. So at the large end, it's that. At the small end, it's right down to we're part of a recycling of tissues with Nelson Harbour and his team. So it's the whole scale of, you know, office operation through to big scale project thinking.
Right, thank you. Councillor Bill.
Yes, Richard. Tēnā koutou. Well done for this report. Jerry, you mentioned that you engaged with over 600 small businesses. Do we have a breakdown, two parts to this question, do we have a breakdown of how many of those belong to the Manawatū district?
Yes, we do.
And then the second part of the question is, how many of them are Māori?
But we can do that. I haven't got that data to hand, but we use a client management system. You've got that breakdown here, Greg?
Yeah, so we can, as long as a business chooses to state that they're a Māori business, we've got that. So we could give you that.
We have a really good client management system that tracks every engagement by account, by who presents seat with them, and whether they identify as a Māori business or not.
And can I also ask, does the system allow for us to know whether the engagement is from CEDA to them or the businesses to CEDA?
Yes, it does.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, team.
Councillor Jernan.
Manawatū district's been growing in recent times, particularly in the rural area, and is going to continue to do so by the looks of things. You mentioned in your report around technical connectivity across the region. At the moment, there seems to be quite a large handbrake on Manawatū district in terms of being able to have and sustain business opportunities and economic growth. Where does CEDA fit in the future in terms of trying to make improvements in that area?
It's another great question. Look, it's varied in its approach. So one of the ones is actually selling the region as a place you should come to visit, to stay, and then to look at working and then potentially setting up business. So it's creating the collateral and all of the work that we do inside the manawatūnz.co.nz brand. Secondly, is we're very, very big on the regional picture. So what's good for the district, good for the city, what's good for the city, it's good for the district. So Te Tanganu is a classic example. Primarily the hub, everybody thinks of it being in Palmerston North region, which it is, but there's a significant part that sits in the district. Primary sector is huge for us. We've got two really cool projects going on in there, which will undoubtedly impact the district and probably not the city. One which relates to a non-disclosure agreement signed with a significant entity in Australia that wants to look at coming into the region and using wheat straw to produce a sort of a product which runs in competition to chipboard. We're talking around the crop diversification stuff. We've got conversations going around olives, riparian companion planting, diversification of land use. So we've always got that district, regional, city link thing going on, but certainly the district is very, very high in our thinking around that primary sector and distribution logistics space.
And so secondly, so the other part of the technical connectivity is around just simply plugging something in and having some Wi-Fi or whatever. There's massive issues ongoing around the district. Is there any way that CEDA can be involved, whether it is lobbying or working with others, to make that a whole lot better?
I think so. And I think this conversation around hub-scale data centre is going to be the catalyst for that. These guys are talking about dropping in a deep sea cable from California into the Hawke's Bay and coming to Palmerston North, which is a $6 billion investment. And when they land the hub-scale centre, they're going to need to have infrastructure that supports that. So in essence, that's the cloud environment sitting in Manawatū, which is quite interesting. So I think we can. We have connections with probably most of the people inside Manawatū, so can certainly work inside that network to bring things to the table if we see them as being issue worthy.
Deputy Mayor Hadfield.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Jerry, just on the energy stuff, and you may or may not be able to answer this, but we know there was sort of one solar farm, I think, on the fast track consenting bundle. and another private one, I think, has already been consented. Have you got any sort of update on where any of those are going and how they might be linked to,
Yeah, no, that's another cracking question. We're all doing great. So that's cool. Look, it's really interesting actually. Energy Estate has a database that looks at all of the energy plans for the entire country, and then they can filter it by wind farm, solar farm, whatever. And we are festooned across the central North Island with these things, and we're going to need them. At first call, when the hyper data centre, the hyperscale data centre, was going to consume 4 times the power consumption of hubs in North City. Now I think they've scaled it back a little bit, but there's certainly these guys are also inside the fast track legislation conversation with the central government around wind farms and solar. I know there's we've just in the middle of signing an MOU with 6 economic development agencies around the central North Island, and those 2 of the key projects in the first list of things to work on is green energy and how we link horizontal infrastructure, roading, rail, airports and ports from an economic development perspective to make sure that we can all make the boat go faster.
With the distribution hub, let's just imagine fast forward 20 years and it's all gone according to plan. What's the benefit to the region?
Well, if we take a conservative view of how much land you can use with industrial land, given what you've set aside for flood mitigation and whatever through horizons, if you've got 700 hectares total, you might have 450 to 500 hectares of that in usable industrial land. If you take, for example, I'm not good at the maths, but the recently completed Bromley Connect 38,000 square metre shed has 150 odd full-time staff in it. If 100 of those move to the district and set up new housing, I think we calculated that it's about 7.5 million tipped into the annual household spend alone. So if you just took one of those sheds and you duplicated it many times, the uplift in jobs is absolutely significant. We've actually been asked to provide those figures as part of our last information request to Kanoa, but I haven't got those to hand, but it's mountains of jobs, tons of household expenditure being tipped into the region. Look, another interesting one, and I only found this out 2 days ago, Infometrics. You can see that this region, but the city in particular, has the highest number of businesses in New Zealand with 100 employees or more. So they call those anchor businesses. So we've got those more than any other place in New Zealand, which I think is really exciting. So it gives us that sort of core ability to leverage off those larger companies. When large companies do well, the 1 in 2 men or women with a company with a hammer hand and a builder do well. So I think there'll be that flow on effect as well.
Right. So, and the distribution hub's not going to happen without the work of CEDA.
It's 100%.
Yeah. So we often get from the public who don't really understand what you do, why are you giving so much money to CEDA? You do a lot of things, and your report covers most of those, which is great. But it's some of these big things that the potential is huge, and I think that's important. Similarly with inward investment opportunities, you might go years without one coming off, but you're not going to get any coming off unless you're in the game. Are you able to elaborate a little bit more on that I imagine most of the work you do is commercially sensitive, but just any sort of examples or potential?
Absolutely. If I just might just go back to the original comment, which I think aligns with Councillor Hatfield's query when we had the previous presenter. Look, on that resident survey stuff, I think what this shows to me is I'm really, really confident, and our annual report shows that we're achieving all of the things that our shareholder, in fact, exceeding all the things that our shareholder council asked us to do. What I think it outlines for me, and this is a challenge always, is to convey to the ratepayer what economic development is, and not more importantly, what it isn't. And so, look, last night we had a fantastic event where we went to the Business After 5 with Field and District Promotion, and I thought that was awesome. And one of the things that resonated with me is how the two entities are really different and they work synergistically together. But for us to try to tell our story is a continual challenge, even though Janet and her team do a fantastic job of using every imaginable communications platform that we can, and we'll keep trying to do that. Look, the economic development and investment stuff, we've got sitting on our database of investment opportunities. I think at last count, we totaled it up with several $1 billion worth of opportunities, but they take a long time. So the rail hub is a 2055 completion project, so the key rail hub, and it will likely commence, we hope, in the next 2 to 3 years, and then that triggers the ring road, and so on and so forth. And then you start to get those people that go, well, look, I'm currently at Tremaine Ave or wherever else, and I can't see the vision. But once the vision lands, it's just going to explode. So, look, we've got all sorts of investment conversations going on. I think Greg and I have got 3 meetings this week with hotel teams. And that's not because we planned it that way. They just aligned, so we call them this hotel week. So there's always those really diverse, interesting investment conversations going on. Always there.
Councillor Drew Hopkins.
Thanks, Jerry, and your team. I thought it's been really interesting reading that report and having a look around your CEDA site a bit more with your land diversification options that I was interested in, because I see you've got five crop groupings that you've done some work in, garlic, beans, sweet corn, kiwi fruit. I'm just interested to see how much of an uptake there has been in those 5 crops for the region.
Look, they're pretty new. I think we only got those out 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're very, very new. But it's fair to say that the interest in that crop diversification project is really, really strong. And how we see it, and there's a disclaimer on it, use this to do a little bit of searching on your own, but then make your decisions based on getting advice from a professional. So, people who work in that space all the time. But there's certainly lots of interest. And I know we spoke when we chatted around the Manawatū regional food strategy, around there's often smaller clusters of farmers who are looking at diversifying their crop. And what we can bring to that conversation as well, if we can find one person and they are looking at doing, say, a $10 million, a dairy production plant and can't afford to do it, let's find another 9 farmers. And instead of it costing them 1 million each, it only costs them $500,000 each, we'll get the other 5 million from Kānoa. And if we can get a Māori business involved, then we can start to tap into other funding as well. So we just look to see how we can actually bring together all of the key partners inside that food story and make those things hum. So Greg, I don't know if you've got any anecdotes of other crops that people have been talking about.
Yeah, we've got one grower who's recently looking at converting to some garlic crops and looking at export opportunities. Jerry alluded briefly to olive. This is kind of very early stages, and this is a multi-region opportunity from sort of Kapiti Coast through to us.
Just on the olives, sort of what scale? How many trees?
2.
So it's very hobbyist industry at the moment, but we've got one farmer in the wider region looking to potentially plant 100,000 trees, which is about half of the country's trees. So yeah, there's I guess all of these things too. We really ensure that there's a market opportunity. What's exciting about the olive opportunity, there is quite a significant global opportunity with supply coming out of Europe.
Councillor Drew Hopkins.
Because I guess my biggest experience of being involved with all of this before was that we need a market, we need a processor, and we need critical mass. And they're the most essential things. If we haven't got them, we're barking up a tree. And we did quite a lot of work on feijoas. Of course, there's thousands of feijoa trees in the Manawatū round and about, but it's pulling people together to actually be able to export there because it's quite a popular fruit.
That's fantastic to hear that, because all of our conversations are driven by market first.
Oh.
we've been slightly critical of some of the other economic development agencies not too far from us who've done some fantastic work in crops that I don't think will market. So if you haven't got a market, there's no use you putting effort into it because you're just not going to have any certain commodity. So
No, you're right, Jerry, because and the domestic market's not big enough.
Exactly,
So we had to export.
So we're actually commissioning some work right now as we speak with Napier Port, and we're hoping to bring Centreport into it as well, which is to sell the proposition that you're better off to have your production plant and your food production and your distribution coming out of the Manawatū, because we think it's cheaper to freight into the two ports here, Centreport and Napier, freight it out of Palmerston North or the Manawatū, north and south, east and west, and it's much cheaper than doing it.
No, I totally agree. And I think the Wanganui bringing in, Wanganui crops, etc., all through into the Manawatū, whether it's lemons or whatever, there's a lot of specialty crops that can be grown through the Wanganui, Manawatū, Tararua region. Because they've done a huge amount of work's been done on that.
Correct.
So I was just interested to see how you've got those five because they hadn't been necessarily discussed before. And the peas is great, but it's also logistic. Well, I can grow peas in northern Manawatū, but you can't get them transported because the cost is too high. So it's quite limited in some of these crops into areas where they can be utilised. It's more down country for Manawatū, strong cropping country. But anyway, it's going to be really interesting. I'm going to follow it. And I want to have a look at your map. I couldn't get the map working properly on my computer, so I'm going to have another look at that. But I think it's really interesting what you've done, so well done.
Just as a curiosity in that one, the 6 EDAs that are in that type 5, type 6 is us, Taranaki, Wanganui and Partners, Wellington NZ, Hawke's Bay, and the Horowhenua Company. So we've got the whole central line covered. The littler ones, which have economic development function but aren't standalone, are still included. So that the Tararuas, the Upays, those sorts are still in the conversation. But there's just the 6 big ones that are.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Councillor Hadfield, did you hand up?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I just wanted, Jerry, if I could, to go back to the satisfaction survey. And actually, I wanted to make more of an observation than anything else. And I noted in it, even for council, our overall facilities and services satisfaction dropped 6%. And the two, and here I'm aware the council working up with, PNCC to develop, improve, promote the region's economy, as well as the other one I mentioned, down 3 and 4%. And I think my observation is that it reminds us, probably using the Plain English Act, is that, we can always improve on how we get the message across to the general public who probably don't, or who struggle to understand the mechanics of actually what's going on, both in council and within CEDA. So just an observation, Your Worship.
Thank you. So, Councillor Loader.
Hello, Gary and team. Thank you for your report. Just wondering about the Accelerate Academy and what CEDA is doing and the impact of that academy for rangatahi into employment.
Yeah, so the Accelerate Academy is a kind of what I describe as a perfect model that we've sort of established with industry, economic development, Ministry of Education, and then tertiary, all kind of playing a role together. And so what we do every year is we bring 100 plus rangatahi together at the UCOL health site where they train nurses. Amazing facility, absolutely blows the young people away. It's interactive, hands-on. We bring them in and we've created with Mid Central Health team almost like a story, a day in the life of what does it mean to work in health. We're into our 3rd year now. So in terms of kind of how we track that, the bit that we're looking to sort of establish and what's really hard to track is what happens to the young people after those experiences. Do they go on training? We've got some really amazing anecdotal stories that back up the work we're doing, and I'm happy to share those separately. But yeah, in terms of the overall day, it's I think a great model for getting young people engaged in our kind of key sectors, but in that tertiary space as well. So we look to continue it, and I guess the other thing to mention is we're looking at how do we take that model and drop it into another sector. So what does the primary version of that look like with distribution? logistics version of that look like. So, yeah.
Right, what's the process to select the students or?
It's done through schools. So we do drive that through schools. Yeah, at the moment, but kind of would love to kind of expand that as well. Obviously we're bound of how many people we can get into a space, but yeah, there's definitely opportunities.
All right, well, thanks very much for the report. Can you just tell us who you are now, please?
My computer's gone up battery. So thanks everybody. Look, apologies for the little hickety-boo and getting these around the wrong way. So I won't make Bobby reintroduce us because she's already done that. Look, if we just go to the first slide in this presentation. As you're aware, CEDA is Manawatū's economic development agency with a purpose to drive and facilitate the creation of growth and economic wealth for Manawatū and beyond. We're also an integrated regional tourism organisation. So I think what that brings to the table is that often people look at other economic development agencies to do comparisons, but economic development agencies are quite different how they function. So we've got that integrated RTO function, which means we're responsible for driving our growth in the visitor sector. Our work is structured around our three core economic pillars, which you've already heard quite a bit about, our people-based businesses, underpinned by really strong partnerships. That's big for us. And economic development for us is about supporting our region to thrive, not just for today, but for generations to come. So it means taking that long-term strategic view to the future-proofing and enhancement of our economy, ensuring it remains vibrant, resilient, and inclusive. And most of our work, as we've heard about in our annual report, is quite long-term. Some of our projects are way out to 2055. But this is what economic development looks like. So we're working for today's communities and also for the people of tomorrow. Our visions and our goals. So our work is also about leveraging the unique strengths of our place, from our leading primary industries and agribusiness to our central location that powers distribution logistics and the rich experiences that drive our visitor economy. We build on these just to grow the opportunities and prosperity for all of our people that live in our region. Our collective vision for the region, which remains firm and is brought to life through our pillars of the distribution hub, the food strategy, and the destination management plan. And all of our work is getting us towards this region's vision and our goals. So how we work, and I really love the little flow diagram on the right. It just talks about, how we drive our discussions around what we do. We get the letter of intent from our shareholder councils. We turn it into a statement of intent, and then we drive it from what we hear around the traps and how it works. So our core focus in this is to stimulate investment both nationally and internationally, have retention and expansion of businesses in the Manawatū. And in that space, for example, we've got a hit list of about 70 businesses that are not currently in the Manawatū that we think should be in the Manawatū, nationally and internationally, and we want to grow that list as well. We develop a talent pipeline, so as we've just talked about, we're in that space in a number of ways, and we're supporting that domestic visitation and tourism, and in fact trying to grow that international market as well. So our top priorities, if you've heard about in our roundabout previous thing that was supposed to be after this, we have the Central New Zealand Distribution Hub Te Tanganui, the Manawatū Regional Food Strategy, we think is going really well, and just as a line of sight of that, that strategy is one of only 3 regions in New Zealand that's in an EU-funded program that we just had one of our staff over in Barcelona talking about, and that is going to anchor with Slovenia, on that food diversification conversation. We are promoting, and obviously our key tourism and visitor sector, and obviously that imminent investment into the new town and Pastoral City centres added to our expectation. Right. So from here, CEDA uses this as a guide. We will consider anything in the work that we do, but as long as it aligns to our outcome statements. And this ensures that our strategic approach that we take for our shareholders aligns to our goals, strategy, and long-term plans. So this regional strategic driving of the economy is really important. We've talked earlier about the strength of the central lower North Island, and we've started to refer to ourselves as the Platinum Triangle, slightly more expensive than the Golden Triangle. So that but our economy is worth 22.3% of the national GDP, which is bigger than the South Island, but we don't have a minister for Central Island yet. We'll work on that. But we've got all of those key projects that are driving us ahead. Te Tanganui is a game changer, and that Central North Island, every piece of freight that moves on rail, north, south, east, or west on the North Island has to go through Palmerston North. The food strategy is really cool. It's that cross-sectorial approach. It's talking about adding value. We've got a world-class innovation. We've got world-class farmers. And apparently I've got no microphone. I was just doing that. I don't know why I was doing that.
What was that, the last 5 minutes?
Then we've got Manawatū Destination Management Plan, which is a hidden gem for us. And I think at last count, Janet, we're nearly back up to $500 million of visitor sector activity, which is fantastic. So these drive what we do. They shape our collaborations, and they really do help us to unlock our future in terms of economic growth. Our core delivery is the work that helps us to make sure that our momentum going forward is focused, that we're connected, and that we have an impact across the region. So inward investment and business attraction and retention works to actively attract and retain businesses in the region. And, look, there are businesses that come here new, but there are businesses that expand into the region, and occasionally they leave, and that's sad, but other ones will come in their place, no doubt. Sector development is really important in terms of supporting we've got 10 sectors of strength across our region, and we focus on probably 3 or 4 of them as our key sectors. But it guides us to focus our projects and our partnerships so that we can get those moving, but also we like to be agile in that space as well. Innovation is fantastic for us. We do a lot of work with our R&D and innovation and science and university and tertiary partners. We work closely with the factory and Sprout Agritech and IMBI in starting that role. We help to provide some funding for people who work in that space. The talent and pipeline development, we've already talked a little about that with Greg, but it's still very, very important for us in terms of that workforce and supporting careers, skills, education pathways, and helping attract and retain talent. And this is where that Councillor Hadfield brought into play is really important, because that's what we are, but what we aren't is we're not a recruitment agency. So there are roles that people play in that space that we don't. We partner up with them to make the whole story compelling. The regional profiling positioning is vitally important, and we're really, really clear about this from CEDA's perspective. We will be involved directly with some of the activity that brings inward investment and new people to the region. But we will be almost involved in every conversation where people have seen what the region is doing and actually make that decision themselves. So there are loads of investment that have come into this region that I think are indirectly linked to the profiling of the region that Janet and her team do through the regional profiling and positioning. And then we develop those strategic relationships and partnerships. We, I think, have got something in the vicinity of 30 MOUs and counting. As I said, we're just signing on with those Central North Island clusters of economic development agencies. They go from, mana whenua iwi entities through to large businesses, through to national governing bodies and all sorts. We've signed one in the last 6 months with Air New Zealand, which is fantastic. So those kind of developments and getting those key strategic partnerships are very, very important to what we do. Just a bit of regional profiling and positioning. So Manawatū NZ is our shop window. And if you saw the CEDA car out in the car park, it's got Manawatū NZ emblazoned on the side. And about the size of that little wee jar of fruits is CEDA. So we don't publicise CEDA as a brand. We're very much the watermark.
Steve's not here anymore.
I remain silent on that. It's a great place to live, do business, invest and visit. Our visitor information signage, we work really, really hard on that as well. In fact, we've just had another request in the last week about more signage around the new Te Ahau Tūranga Manawatū Tanarua Highway. So we're always working in that space, working with rural communities along those scenic touring routes, wayfinding so people know how to get to places, those sort of things. The regional collateral, look, there's a whole lot of stuff in here that we do. There's the official visitor guide that goes right across the country, our walks and cycling guide, our map and trip planner of the country road. We have those focused big shiny documents around inward investment. There's a whole lot of stuff in that space that is really, really important for us. Media and content, always looking for those opportunities to put our region into the national, line of sight. So Janet's team does a fantastic job in that space. In the last wee while, we've done publications or submitted stuff into Life and Leisure, Cura magazine, New Zealand Hero, always on stuff. There's been a fantastic bunch of articles in the last wee while. Tourism New Zealand, we always use their channels and their media partners to help keeping that thing moving forward. What you often won't see is what CEDA's done. You'll see what's attached to the Manawatū NZ brand, and we're actually quite comfortable with that because that's the hook to get people to come to the region. Some really great marketing campaigns. Over the years, we've done some really cool ones. This year's one of the ones I love was the Wait What campaign around actually Wait What, you've got that in the region. There's some amazing things that came out of that in terms of the cut through and the touch. It was really, really fantastic. So we're delighted with that sort of activity. Given that we've got quite a few new faces around the table, just a bit of a wallet slide, just with a whole lot of stuff on it, which is great, just to show you some of the things we do. And this is just a touch on the things we do. And there's an open offer out there to any elected member, in fact, anyone in the public gallery, anyone at all, offers the whole work. So who wants to sit down and find out more about what we do, we can sit down with you. But we do a lot of things, and this is just a quick stop tour of what we do. A lot of the work you may, as I've said, won't necessarily attribute to CEDA, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there that we do. We have the saying, and Mayor Ford and the other elected members have been around the table for a bit, is we don't want to be the logo, we want to be the watermark. The logo is the region, the logo is Fielding, the logo is the Manawatū, it's Palmerston North, it's the Manawatū, it's not CEDA. So look, we're really delighted to have shared just a quick whistle-stop tour of what we're all about. And again, happy to take questions or, as I said at the start, with what we said out to all of the elected members, very, very happy to catch up and discuss with what we do at any time.
Thanks very much, Jerry. Look, it's a great opportunity, particularly with such a large number of new councillors here for councillors to ask you questions. What's the burning issue? What anything contentious, critical? Now's a good opportunity. So I'll open that for questions. Councillor Corrie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, Jerry, thanks for coming along this morning. The deficiencies in what we provide the Manawatū region has, is it deficiencies in labour, is it deficiencies in area? What area do you see that we could perhaps work towards improving?
I'm always a glass half full and the first half tastes like a good man. Look, I don't think there's any deficiencies in what we have here. We pointed out in our presentation, in almost every marker in an economic and GDP sense, we're punching above our weight compared to New Zealand. I think the opportunity for us is to take the message around, we're open for business. Look, I was at the New Zealand Rail Conference, as I said a couple of weeks ago. I think last week I was at Economic Development New Zealand Conference. People still don't understand the significance of this region in terms of all of the things that we lead out. So whether it be, if we're going to have a overall chance of doubling exports, it's the primary sector that's going to do it. And you need to be able to get that to the port and get it out of the region and into an international market quickly. So I think the opportunity for this region is to keep telling the story through CEDA and through your own channels around what's on here, what we can do. There's a growth in visitor sector, there's a real interest in lifting up that sort of, moderate sized conference visitation. We're always looking for accommodation, and when an event comes to our region, you can't find accommodation for 50 kilometres in a circle, so everybody benefits. So I think there's no deficiencies. I think there's opportunities that are untapped, and part of what we continue to keep doing is pushing those really key strengths for the region out to the market.
Yeah, just to
carry on,
just to follow up on that, I believe the Manawatū region will probably lead the economic recovery that New Zealand will face very shortly. What's happening with the rural sector is very, very positive, and that's going to flow through into the city and throughout the country, as long as it holds at a reasonable level, of course.
I 100% agree. Like, we are a primary sector based country. The visitor sector, very, very close second. International education for us is also going to be important, but I totally agree. And I think we're actually in the midst of, if it's not a recession, it's the next worst thing, whatever that would be. But we are really poised to come out of that. I think, I know it's an overused phrase, but green shoots are definitely there. And we're at the cutting edge to do stuff because we just get things done in this region. And it's driven out of that, that kind of just knuckle down, get into it, get it done. I was actually, sorry if I may say, Ford, myself, Meg Grant Smith, and the lead team for CEDA met yesterday. And I think it's important that the table understands that at the Economic Development Conference last week, I think there's 26 or 27 economic development agencies of different, some are council-controlled organisations, some are trusts, whatever. I think it's important that you know that CEDA and the region is held in high regard around New Zealand to a very economic development activity. If I was to pick the best in show, it'll be us, Beech, Taranaki, Great South, and Christchurch NZ. People look to see what we're doing, and the best form of flattery is people who actually nick your ideas and say, what a great idea we had. And we're really up for that. We don't hold, anything that we have that we think would help the wider level to get out there. But I just think it's important to know that we have the respect of our colleagues around the sector, which I think we're really proud of, and I think it's good that you share that.
Cool. Executive Mr. Harris.
Interesting, yesterday I was at a seminar with the BNZ's chief economist, and they pretty much agree with everything that you've said, but their big concern is that net migration is outstripping immigration, especially in the skill-based sector. So what we're doing is we're losing talent. And I think that's pretty obvious. You just need to see how much is going over to Australia alone. And their concern is that we can try as hard as we like to create additional productivity or businesses, but where's the skill base going to come from? And I think we can't lose sight of that. I think that is something that we absolutely, no matter what part we play in all of this, have to try and either stop that migration or somehow replace it. And I don't know the answers, but I think he's nailed it.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great comment, and I always at this point like to share that if you had 6 economists in the room, you get 7 different opinions. But he's right. The economist right. Sorry, it could have been not he. And for us, I think the key, we don't have much influence in the economic development agency on things like pay structure, cost of housing, those sorts of things. But what we can do is sell the region as a great place to come and live in New Zealand if you're going to stay in New Zealand and you want it to be successful. I mean, I think was it the last economic update, might have been last year, there was something like $150,000 average price for a house difference between us and Hawke's Bay. So that's a big ticket item if you want to actually live somewhere where you can have more disposable income and actually have a better life for your family. This is one of the best regions in New Zealand to do that. And I look all the time at house prices and, the affordability even of new houses and the housing developments in the Fielding district is fantastic. Very, very competitive, very attractive. So part of what we do is make that compelling discussion and argument that this is the best place in New Zealand to be if you want to succeed under the current way that we pay people, which is not our. Couldn't think of the formal words, I just jam.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Oh, sorry, Janet.
Just to add to that, we have you on Monday night at the new Fielding Community Hub Libraries. We've got an economic update, so we'll be talking to the latest data, but we're focusing in especially on the construction sector. So we'll have a few business owners and leaders there, and actually one of the key issues we're talking around is that, I guess, that niche of labour and talent, particularly in the construction sector, because we are seeing a really strong bounce back for our non-residential, commercial construction, and we have lost a lot of talent. So if you haven't registered yet, you can do so through the Manawatū Business Chamber. It's free to attend, and it'll be great to have you there as part of that discussion.
Thanks, Councillor Bell.
Yes, Worship. I guess I'll ask a question before I have some comments. The question that I have is, CEDA been invited to Ohanga ki te ao? Tainui, have we been invited? Okay, that will lead me to my comments. So, Te Ohanga ki te ao was announced by our Māori Queen. It's the economic summit, which she's brought over 6 countries across the world with a $30 million kotahitanga fund. That's just the start of it. She's invited 100 Māori businesses or enterprises that she believes that is worthy to attend. I haven't heard of anyone, Māori or any enterprise that's been invited in this district. And that bit concerns me because it's shown that we are not seen to be in that space, in that particular industry. So I guess this is a comment / tono tainui that we need to put ourselves in that position. That's an amazing fund that Manawatū and Rangitane, Kowhata, the Valley could be tapping into, that CEDA could be connected to. We need to get on that list, that summit list. There is about 3 spaces left. I suggest that we look at how we get our foot in the door. One of the things that excites me is the Māori Queen recently went to Dubai, and her partnerships apparently over there, she killed it. Of course she did. So they're coming. And I would like for us, particularly because you know that all our hapu are unsettled. So one of the reasons why we're not seen in the Māori economy as game changers in the field is purely because we haven't settled yet. We haven't proven our worth yet in that space. And I think we need to shift that because we're always pulled into health spaces, right? We have psychologists, doctors, professors, nurses. We're on every governance board in the country. We have Sir Mason Jury, whare tapuwha is used globally. But when it comes to business, Manawatū doesn't get a foot in the door. So I think this is the bit here in the next few years we strategize, even if we just get one of us in there and we pull the biggest name we can, whether it's your Uncle Hemi Te Peti, whether it's Mehana Jury, someone so that we have a chance, because at the moment it's looking like Tainui, Ngaitahu, every other iwi and rohe and their enterprise groups like CEDA, Taranaki, and we haven't got on that list. So pull us through, Tainui, pull us through, let's strategize, let's get into that table. It's a 4-day event, you know, and they're doing cross-sector partnerships. They're doing more than MOUs, they're doing business deals. And that would just be so great for our people here. But for not just Māori, but for our whole district, for us to get in that game. It's a $30 million fund. Let's tap in.
Yeah, so I'm just working on the runanga at the moment because we've been having this conversation at our trustee and our Māori level, and it's just understanding who are those big players that can represent us, and because we're not settled yet, so it does make it a bit harder. So, you know, catching up with 5 Debbie Supuni today as well, so it's around that Rangitane Raukawa collective, and what are we actually doing and how do we position ourselves to get actually someone up there, even if it's just in the gallery sitting there listening.
Even in the gallery.
Just to bring that information back down, but it has to come from the runanga, so then that information's from the top filtering down, and it's not a marae or hapu based trying to go in there and try and represent everyone. So I guess we are.
It's a fantastic point. And one of the ones just to related to Te Tainui, the Central New Zealand Distribution Hub, we're going through in March to have a look at Ruakura. And so we've asked to catch up with Tainui, so I've reached out to the trial plan. Their CEO, he's just come over from Downers. And one of the reasons for that is that we've had conversations with local mana whenua around that, trying to expand how we can get Māori investment into our region by co-investment with iwi. So Brookfields have just signed that massive deal with Tainui around the Ruakura hub. It's huge. And they're looking to expand into other regions as well. So through the governance group, which I think the meeting's in about a week's time, and we've got both Kawhata and Rangitane on that group, we're going to put an invite out to put a 2-day visit to up to Hamilton to meet with everybody in that conversation. So it would also be a good way to get into that conversation as well with Tainui.
Okay. Just to add, sorry, I had a couple of comments. So leading on to that, this morning, Jerry, you would have just briefly heard our benchmark report. But what I think is really valuable is for Lynn or Marie to give CEDA page 71 of that report, because that shows Māori and non-Māori and how they view our council's relationships with people like yourselves. And sadly, we've gone down, you'll see it, it's all in red. That anyone Māori, are we aware of council working with partnerships of promoting the region's economy? It's gone down 46%. That's really, really low. So what that means is we need to be a bit more visible as a group for our Māori communities in Manawatū. Because what I hear a lot of the time, Jerry, and I wholeheartedly love that rangitane have that relationship with CEDA, and there's MOUs that are standing, that whakapapata rangitane. I am a Māori ward, this is Manawatū, our area is Kōwhata and Te Reo, and I think they need to be part more in those conversations, and that will also help us, Tainui, in strategizing and how we get into places like Tō'ohanga ki te ao. How do we get into those big money spaces that we're getting left out of the door of? The other bit that you know this, Tainui, and it's your name as well, but we have whakapapa. Like if we look at the district and we include Palmerston North, now respectfully to rangitane, it is Kōwhata in the valley, Rokua this side, that have strong whakapapa. We have names of our marae named to our kingitanga. Our relationships have always been, we're one of the first on the pie. So how can we use whakapapa to get into those doors if we need to? That's a big job. So I'm just going to give that tukua to you. And I'll support you in Wairoa when you have those conversations.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. Great suggestions there and challenges too, I would suggest. So well done. Yeah, just looking back, I've been involved in the last 40 or so years, I suppose. And when I first came to Fielding, I came in as a valuer and a real estate agent. And people bought houses in Fielding because it was cheap.
Yeah.
Pretty much end of story. And now they buy houses in Fielding and the Manawatū district because it's a great place to live. It's the lifestyle. Yeah, affordability is not too bad. It's deteriorated, to be honest, but that's because it's perceived as being as more desirable than it used to. So there's been some good things done. There's been growth. We can always do more. That's the exciting thing. That's tons of potential. But growth doesn't just happen. It happens because of groups like CEDA. It happens because of and your predecessors and groups like Fielding and District Promotion. So yeah, so I'm saying that we get to this point, 2025. Actually, we've come a long way. A lot of good things have happened, but there's a potential to go much further. And in my view, anyway, we need groups like yourselves, CEDA, to help us achieve that. So before we close up on this session and break for morning tea, and we've got a recommendation to, we've got a report to receive. Are there any further questions or comments, Councillor Jernda?
Yeah, I've just got one more. Given that the council's here to really take your strategies and the work that you're doing and be responsible to a certain extent around local economic development, the reality of making it happen, do you think the council is, in your view, structured to deliver on what you're coming up with?
That's a purely answer. Look, I don't know in a workings of the council enough to respond. But what I will say is that, and I just want to pay my due credit to Lynn, Marie, Ross, and the team that work directly with us, are fantastic. We have a very clear vision for us. They have a very clear way of letting us know, where we need to be focusing. And I think that working together is going really, really well. And I won't delve into the inner workings, but I'm delighted with what we have in terms of that straight through link. Previously the same with Shane and Mayor Helen, and now with Mayor Michael. The relationship through the CEDA lead team's fantastic. As I said, we had a meeting yesterday, and it's just such a great forum with Bobby also chairing that meeting. So it's just a great way to connect those two entities, or three actually, with our cousins across the hill. So yeah, we're really delighted with how that's working from that perspective.
Thank you. Well, we go to page 139. We have a recommendation. Would someone like to move, Councillor Bell?
Move that the council receive. What page are we on again?
139.
Move that the council receive the Central Economic Development Agency annual report 1st of July 2024 to 30th of June 2025.
Councillor Bell is the second to Councillor Hill. Discussion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary? It's carried. So thank you very much to the CEDA team, Bobby, Jerry, Greg, Jackie, Tainui. Great presentation and great report. Congratulations. And you're just so important to our Manawatū. And you know, we partner with our friends in Department City, and just about all the time that goes really well. So I think now's time to break morning tea, and we'll invite you to join us for morning tea, please. And councillors, you. Right, welcome back, everybody. We'll go to item 11, which is the public's excluded business. So I'll move that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely 1, Man Park Annual Report 2024 to 25, and that the Manfield team are certainly able to stay. So do I have a second, please? Councillor Hadfield, any discussion? The motion, those in favour, please raise your hand. Contrary, carried. Thank you.
Didn't get a second, I think.
I don't need to move a second, did I? No. Thanks.
So you kept or nervous.
Thank you, Paul. Stephen. Right, so we're up to 9.5, page 211, the adoption of elected members' allowances and expenses reimbursement policy, 2025 to 2028. Okay, so our chief executive's conducting some very, very important business, finding out what time lunch is. Through the
I'll take us through. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Ash.
So these allowances are set by the Remuneration Authority in the same determination where they release the governance remuneration pool. So it's the same sort of organisation we're dealing with. They lay out all of the allowances, and then it's up to each council to decide whether they want to adopt all of them or just some of them. So what I'll do for this is go through the recommendation, which covers all of the applicable allowances, and just give a super brief overview of each one. So when elected members go on training or to conferences, you're allowed to claim for public transport, taxis where required. That's not a long thing. We really encourage some discretion in that. But there are certainly cases, for example, when you go to Christchurch, the airport's quite far away from the city centre where taxis are appropriate, and that's all fine. The next one is exceptional circumstances for council meetings, which we haven't had in the last training, but basically we're just saying here, if we have a really urgent meeting late at night and you need to come in and you need accommodation for whatever reason, that we can accommodate for that. I don't anticipate that will be a thing, but it's important to include so that we don't catch ourselves out in the future. Last training, we had the childcare allowance for the first time. So this was introduced in 2022, used by one elected member in the last training. I don't believe it's going to be used currently by any elected members so far. Well, I could be wrong on that, sorry. But regardless of that,
Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, regardless of that, I would suggest including it. You know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have on the books. The amount has gone up to 7,500.
Not pregnant, Michael.
Elected member that used it last year got nowhere near that limit, just for reference. So it's a very generous limit. The next one's the home security system allowance, which we discussed in the workshop. So the limits in there are 4,500 for the installation of the system and $1,000 for ongoing maintenance. And as the chief executive mentioned offline, essentially, although we have to, he has to approve it. Essentially, if you believe that you require it, it'll be approved. Travel time allowance, that is for each day. If you travel for more than 1 hour, we can pay you an allowance for the additional time, so it won't cover the first 60 minutes. In terms of travel to and from council meetings, that might apply to you, Councillor Drew Hopkins. I'm not quite sure.
What's that? How?
This is the travel time allowance from your home to council meetings.
No, it's 50 minutes.
That's at 150 kilometres an hour, though. Slow down.
Yeah, it's
Being careful, I'm not driving excessively now. No, I'm fine.
That also includes pothole checks on the way as well as.
Had a few of those.
It is on your monthly form, so if that does happen to apply for whatever reason, feel free to fill it in and we'll go from there. Cool. So vehicle mileage is the next one. So we will update those figures just as they're updated. The Remuneration Authority copies the IRD amounts and they get updated, I think it's once a year. So rather than put figures into the policy and then have to bring the policy back to you, we're just referencing that figure and those figures will be available on the monthly allowance form that gets sent out to you.
I'll make a comment on that.
Councillor Hadfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ash, we had this conversation the other time because, this covers petrol vehicles, diesel vehicles, a hybrid vehicle, and an electric vehicle. And it's actually, this is a bit like our wastewater disposal. There's two things that they never considered, both disposal to water and disposal to land. And in here, they've forgotten all about plug-in hybrids. And I actually think for me, and probably for Councillor Bell, to have to claim 86 cents a kilometre, which is probably not enough to even push a perambulator around the footpath, I think is delusionally stupid. So what I'm suggesting is that the bureaucracy in Wellington have actually missed out a component here that I think should be given consideration. Because with a plug-in hybrid, not only do you pay for the power, you pay for the petrol, but you're also paying a road user charge as well. So I would like us to at least put the case forward, if we could, understand what we've got to claim in the interim, but I actually think it's manifestly unfair.
I haven't had any advice from the Remuneration Authority around what those types of vehicles should be classed as, and I don't think it's unreasonable that you would put the vehicle type that you think is correct in light of that.
Well, so we would probably appreciate some clarification on that.
Yeah, we would. We were told.
And perhaps we could take that conversation offline.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'd be happy with that, and I think Councillor Bell would be as well.
Yes, I concur.
I'll just continue pushing the perambulator around.
It's actually quite a healthy thing to do.
You missed
That's for sure.
micro mobility.
Sorry, Alison.
You missed micro mobility devices,
I haven't quite got one of those yet, Alison.
which is in the
Councillor Short.
public places bylaw.
Right, moving on.
So the next one is the Information and Communication Technology Allowances. This will be on a monthly form. This is to compensate you for the use of your personal equipment and services. So on your form, please just put a tick box next to the relevant items, and we will refund you accordingly. Hearing fees, at the moment this only applies to Councillor Short, but it could conceivably apply to other elected members. if they undertake the resource management training. And basically it's just the fees set by the remuneration authority. They are paid in addition to with regular councillor remuneration. And that's in recognition of the extra workload that comes along with district plan changes, those sorts of things. It doesn't apply to animal control hearings, which tend to be a lot briefer and are also very infrequent.
It doesn't apply to hearing aids either.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Nice as well. And the final one is the mayoral. So the mayor can be provided with a vehicle, full private use basis. There's a couple of other options that most mayors go with full private use. And there is a very minor deduction from the mayor's salary to compensate for that. It's pretty small. And then fuel, I double checked with the remuneration authority, fuel can be paid from the mayoral purchase card, given that the mayor, if issued a vehicle, isn't entitled to the mileage rate. Are there any questions around any of those?
Oh, sorry, councillor Corey.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I was going to abstain from voting on this remit.
Want to explain why?
Because of the paragraph B, I believe I'd be eligible for some funding. Therefore, I won't vote.
Page.
Sorry, I don't understand
which clause here?
Which one are you talking about?
Clause 2 or clause
page?
B.
What page?
Page 211. Expenses related to travel and allowances.
Anybody?
Yeah, that can apply to all of us. So I don't believe you are conflicted.
Well, it's up to you.
Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just about travel time allowances. Is it, for example, if I'm travelling to Arcty and back, it's maybe going to be about an hour and 40. Do I just claim for that 40 minutes?
Yeah, that's right. It's round trip. Okay. So quick maths, 3 hours 20, yeah, you would claim for 2 hours 20.
Yeah, I think it's 1 hour 40 in total, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. We sort of explored the question of, well, what if you drive to Wellington, you stay the night, and then you drive back? But it is explicitly within a day, not a 24-hour period. So if we're interpreting it strictly, it is just the same day. You can't roll it over into 2 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, any other questions, comments? Councillor Pickford.
I wouldn't intend on claiming on the childcare subsidy, so I'm not. It doesn't need to be in there. It doesn't need to be in there, but I am also aware that I'm not the only one with children.
Just a reminder to speak up. That's what the document's about. Councillor Short.
I think it's important that even if there's some things in there that aren't being claimed, that we leave them there, because, next term, there could be people that do qualify for some of those things. So I think we need to decide whether we're going to agree to them in principle, regardless of when anyone's going to be claiming against them.
Yep, could be a by-election during the term. Yep. So, good point.
Circumstances could change.
All right. Well, we've got the recommendations there. Anyone like to move?
What page are we?
So page 211. Basically, I won't require the full reading of everything.
Happy to.
Deputy Mayor Hadfield.
Yeah, look, happy to move that the council adopts the following elected members' allowance and expense reimbursement policy for the period 17th of October 2025 to the 30th of June 2028. And 2, that the Chief Executive be delegated authority to update the elected members' expense and reimbursement policy within the triennium to reflect any changes to allowance rates or provisions set by the Remuneration Authority. Can I go as listed?
As listed on pages 211 to 213.
13, yep.
The agenda. Right, do we have a seconder? We have a seconder, Councillor Hill. I'll open it for discussion. Got the motion. All those in favour, raise your hand. Contrary? Carried. Do you want your abstention recorded? No? Okay. Thank you. And I believe it's now time to break for lunch.
Hey, Gary.
Well, welcome back after lunch. What a lovely lunch it was too, and happy birthday, Bridget and Shelley.
Right. Thank you.
Right, we're going to move to page 228, decisions on the public places bylaw, and we're going to invite Axel to lead this out. Welcome, Axel and Lisa.
What I call doing good morning, good afternoon, actually, Your Worship, councillors. The purpose of this report is to recommend that council make its final decision on adopting the proposed public places bylaw. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to briefly summarize the report and then open up the floor for any questions you might have. So in terms of review process, this is the final step in completing the statutory review of the public places bylaw 2020. Council actually met the initial review deadline in June by endorsing the section 155 assessment. So just a reminder again, the section 155 assessment essentially determines whether or not our council still considers the bylaw the most appropriate tool to manage the issues it seeks to manage in public places. Since then, council adopted the statement of proposal consulted using the special consultative procedure, received about 15 submissions and deliberated on 2nd of October. In terms of risks, as with any bylaw really, or any regulatory framework, there is a risk of disagreement from submitters or the public, which may lead to challenges, complaints, or lobbying. These kind of risks have been minimized by following the LGA process, carefully and basing the bylaw on clear statutory purposes and delimitations. I guess the main structural risk there is that, the main structural risk in terms of automatic revocation, if the review is not completed, will be resolved once the bylaw is adopted today. In terms of significance, really, this decision is significant due to the generally high public interest in how public spaces are regulated. And for that reason, council used the special consultative procedure and provided multiple engagement channels for the community. And on that note, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Axel. Right, open the meeting to questions. Just one at a time, please. Oh. Yes, we've been through it pretty thoroughly, haven't we? Yeah, that's a reflection of that. So we have a recommendation on page 228. Someone would like to move? Councillor Hill.
I move that in accordance with section 145 of the Local Government Act, LGA 2002, the council determines that the public places bylaw Annex A is necessary for one or more of the following purposes: to protect the public from nuisance, to protect, promote and maintain public health and safety, minimise the potential for offensive behaviour in public places. That in accordance with the requirements of sections 155, 1 to 3 of the Local Government Act 2002, the council determines that the proposed public bylaws 2025 is the most appropriate way of addressing the perceived problems the bylaw seeks to manage, and is the most appropriate form of bylaw, and does not give rise to any implications under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act 1990. That the council adopt the proposed public places bylaw 2025 made under sections 145, 146 and 147 of the Local Government Act 2002, in accordance with the requirements of sections 155 to 158 of that act, and that the council gives delegation to the chief executive to make any minor final edits to the public places bylaw prior to publication.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. We have a seconder. Councillor Jerndon, open the Topic for discussion? That's short.
One comment I'd like to make is, who do you presume will be the reader of this bylaw? Is it for enforcement purposes, or it's just that there's some words in there that are very not user-friendly to the public, like the micro mobility and UAVs instead of drones, etc. And I just wondered, I know we need to cover ourselves for the regulatory part of it, but is it user-friendly to read for the public?
Excellent point, Councillor Shaw. As far as UAV is concerned, that is a term that we'll have to use because it's been used in primary legislation in order to make sure that we're consistent, that our terminology is consistent with the terminology that exists in primary legislation. We have to kind of like use the same terminology. With micromobility, it is an emerging term that seeks to capture the vast variety of e-scooters, e-bikes, segways, etc. But segways have come down a little bit in terms of popularity. So instead of, I guess, adding
listing them
individual definitions, and I do recall also we had a discussion at some point around the power with which these devices operate. So micromobility kind of like captures the range of different mobility devices in that space, and is therefore I guess more conducive to enforcing the bylaw in terms of making sure that we can provide safe public spaces wherever those micromobility devices operate. But I principle dissent.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. To the contrary, it's carried. Thank you very much, Axel and Lisa. I think we can close the council meeting.